Hello, my name is Lisa Gloria. Welcome to another oil painting demonstration. Today, what I'm going to be doing is painting a blue teapot on my sideboard with a bit of a tapestry behind it. This is going to be a multi-session painting, not an alla prima painting, the kind of thing that I would consider a refined work, a finished work, and a pretty good level of difficulty, but it should be fun to walk through it step by step with all that entails. I will share the photo resource. There'll be a link in the description and it'll pop up on the screen from time to time. Today I'm using a 9x12 cradled panel. As you can see, it's one of the thicker ones, an inch and a half or whatever it is. And then here's my glass palette. Titanium white, yellow ochre, brown pink, alizarin crimson, which has slid, ultramarine blue, cobalt blue hue. It's not really cobalt blue, it's a fake cobalt blue, and ivory black. And I feel like I want some Van Dyke brown, but I can actually live without it. I'm just kind of used to it. So the first thing that I want to do is place the composition. In this case, I'm going to be doing a center composition, centered composition. So my middle line is here. And I just want to get in some of the boundaries of what's going on here. You know, where is the pot? Which is the same way that I would start a portrait head. I want something that has a real feeling of serenity to it. And the centered composition plays nicely with that. So yeah, I think in general, I'm doing this. Okay. That's going to put my background somewhere around here, which is just below the center of the canvas panel. Actually, no, I'm going to go to the center. Okay. Taking some ultramarine blue and a little bit of brown pink to make a almost a brown, but really just a dark neutralized blue. So I was at the thrift store one day, and I know what you're thinking. Lisa, you're always at the thrift store, and that's true. I love the thrift store. We have just this great collection of stores around here with antiques, furniture, housewares. It's a really, really nice selection of the kinds of things that look really great in still life paintings. So much silver. I mean, silverware, silver settings, silver serving stuff. That should make any still life painter happy. When I get to the top ellipse here, I'm not really caring about the fact that it's an ellipse. I'm just going to draw it as a straight line for right now. You see. And I'm starting with the body of the pot. Which is the main shape, right? Just like if you were starting with a person, you would probably start with the torso. When I was in art school, briefly in art school, because it was the late 80s, early 90s, which is when art school was, they had this idea that teaching people how to paint was counterproductive. And so I thought, well, paying tuition is to learn not how to paint. Seems counterproductive to me too, but so I left. But in one of my classes, somebody did say to me, "Oh, it looks like you have no feeling for man-made objects." And at the time, I was like, "Damn straight. I like natural forms and yada yada." But that has changed dramatically. I love man-made objects now. I love silver and reflective surfaces, pottery especially, I just think it's so interesting. The way it feels so solid and yet it has this translucent surface, you know? It's crazy. So how are we doing here? I think that this is pretty legit. May have today what I'm going to try to get to is the underpainting. And then I'll have another video where we finish the painting itself. I hope that's amenable to everybody. You know, most paintings actually aren't alla prima. Most paintings that you would sell are going to be done in multiple sessions because, you know, oil paint is beautiful in layers. Which is not to disparage the alla prima thing. Obviously, I love it, but I love the meditative quality of realism brought up in multiple layers. That's what I want to do today. Today and next week, probably. So this arm, so here's the peak, right? Peak is over here. And these are pretty loose right now, as you can see. I'm not really going in and like erasing all the lines I don't like. I'm just letting it be. Oh no, this is kind of comes out straight. Got an inflection over here. This is about life size too. So if you wanted to paint along, and like I said, I'll put the photo resource up for you, which will be mostly the same as what I'm doing, except I've actually got the setup right next to me. So it's a little different, but anyway. If you wanted to paint along, please feel free. Okay, the way that this connects is that there's a downward connection, and then what do we think? Not bad. This is more of a circular character up here. Yes. So I want to readjust the lighting just a smidge. Is it going to let me do it or not? Nope, come on. There we go. I got a new camera. Did I mention that? Got a new camera. So I'm hoping that I could offer videos in 4K with a little less of a struggle than I was using my DSLR. Okay, when I'm placing the spout, I can see that the bottom of the spout is higher than the tail end of the handle. And has a little more attitude. it sort of occludes, meaning covers up this peak. Isn't it? Not really. It's just that the handle is, you know, over the peak, and this is at its lowest edge. Okay. The top of the spout lines up with, is higher than this, and it is I'm gonna say right? It's higher than the top edge. Maybe it's a smidge higher than that. Okay. Especially, you know, going back to the idea of like not being into man-made objects. If you can find the person, the personality of the object, I just think that that is so cute. You know, you see that a lot in still life, that the way, and florals even, the way that objects relate to each other is like people. And I say that for a lot of my botanicals, that, you know, leaves are like dancing girls, and or like hands waving, or sometimes, and then flowers are like heads in conversation. Yeah, that's nice. All right. Okay, that's our composition. It's going to be beautiful vase. What is it? Teapot. Beautiful porcelain teapot. Nice. So then my lines, I was so close. Don't judge me for using a straight edge. That's why we have them, people. Then a little lower than the Of course, as my straight edge rolls, it's moving all over the place. That's okay for now. So I want to scrub in some background and some foreground and give my little teapot a place to live. Well, the foreground, or the background, is a tapestry that I do plan on working up to a certain degree of detail. I'm just gazing at it. And in order to give it a sense of texture and depth, I'm going to lay in something that's a little bit darker than the actual body of the background is going to be. And that way, when I come back into those light areas and stumble over them, they'll feel like they have a little bit more dimensionality to them. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start in with some yellow ochre, titanium white. This would be a good time for me to use some Van Dyke brown, but I forgot to put it on my palette. So instead, I'm going to use equal parts brown pink and ultramarine blue. And this is going to give me something, oh, nice. So something warm and darker than I intend for it to be at the end. That'll give me some room. And then to keep it thin, I'm going to add just a little brush full of medium. This is walnut alkyd medium made by M. Graham. Okay, scrub, scrub, scrub. You see how chromatic this is? It won't be this chromatic at the end, but it will kind of add to the experience. You know, when you're painting in layers, you can do things indirectly, knowing that how the paint is going to react. Oh, so since you're on YouTube, hey, it would be really nice if you subscribed, like this video, please. Turn on notifications to get notices about new videos, and I should note that in my last video I said that I would be doing these on Mondays, and then I was told that Mondays are a terrible idea, so I'll be doing them, I'll release them on Fridays. I'll do them, you know, whenever, but I'll release them on Fridays. I'm kind of careful about going around the edges here, even though I don't really have to be. I know that the top is not quite right. Sorry about that. Everything I have here has got notifications on it. Yeah, okay. There we go. I feel like the actual top, the actual handle of the lid is probably a smidge bigger than this, which is fine, because when I go in and do the positive shapes, I can come back out over the edge of what I've painted and keep it nice and soft. Ooh, don't you love it when you mix exactly the right amount of paint? Oh man, that is winning some kind of Polish grandma jackpot here. That's me, Polish grandma. So when I do the inside, see, when you capture the inside of this shape, take another look at this line from here to here, because they should match up. And if they don't, we're gonna be able to fix that when we get to the positive shape of the teapot. Yeah, I'm feeling good about this. Soft, 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 soft. Okay, and then for the tabletop itself, I'm going to wash this in it with brown pink. I don't know why I have such a mental block about calling it brown pink, because it's obviously not pink in any way that we understand it, right? So it's just difficult for me to remember this sucker. Brown pink and ivory black. It's going to give me a really rich brown that is going to be a joy to paint over when we get to the upper layers. Whew. Super duper fun. And throwing some oil in here to get it to be smooth. Oops. No, it's okay. Yeah, right up here, there's like a little bit of table showing through. Just a tiny bit. I want my strokes to be either diagonal or up and down, because when I come back, my strokes are going to be a little bit more horizontally oriented. And that combination of textures means something to me. You might actually not give a hoot about that at all. But to me, creating what I like to think of as dither, which is the hand of the artist, this sort of ambiance that's created by brushstrokes and tiny inaccuracies and little things laying on top of each other. That is like being able to hear string noise when somebody's playing an acoustic guitar. Like, I just find it so engaging to see the hand of the artist in a painting. Ta-da! So that is scrubbed in. Okay, I want to double check what I'm doing here. I'm looking at the various relationships of this to this and this to this. I think actually it needs to be a little taller. This to this. Here, I think this angle might need to be a little more severe. Nice. I like that quite a bit. And my surface on the panel is oil primed, so it is not very absorbent at all. And since it's not absorbent, the paint is going to stay highly workable in a way that doesn't really work for me. Like I want these layers to settle, and then I want to paint on top of them. And on a closed surface, you know, that's gonna be probably too difficult. And the reason that I'm bringing it up right now is because I'm thinking about how far I'm going to be able to really move today, or how much I'm going to be able to establish. I don't really know. Let's see. I'm hoping to get 2 layers on the teapot, which I almost just called a vase again. 2 layers on the teapot. But I might legit only be able to get 1. Not the worst thing in the world, right? Okay. So I'm going to start with the dark values of the teapot. And I know that the light is a 55 to 5800 degree Kelvin light. So I've got some cool lights, warmer darks. So let's see if I have, what happens if I mix. Because I don't think ultramarine blue is the right blue for this, like at all. Yeah, no. Fail. I've got ultramarine, I've got cobalt, I've got Prussian. Prussian blue is just a terrifying pigment. So let's try this. Cobalt. See, this is cobalt hue, so it's really not the same as real cobalt. Real cobalt should be opaque. This is not opaque, but it is closer. It is less to the violet side and more to the green side. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow ochre. Oh, that's kind of amazing. I like that a lot. I'm going to move it right there. Yeah, now we're talking. Okay, so let me give it a whole ass mother bottle. Oops, I'm sorry, my language. Do you have any idea how hard it is for me to not swear for over an hour? Oh, positively unnatural. There we go. That's giving me just a beautiful dark turquoise or teal. I'm going to take some of that and add some titanium white. Just let's start with a tiny bit to begin with and see where we end up. I'm going to bring that a little bit more towards the violet side with just a tiny addition of ultramarine blue. Yeah, that's okay. And then more. Now I'm not going to go like super duper bright with this because, or super high value, because the trick to making pottery look like pottery is to be able to have that hard edged catch light. And if your lights are too light, excuse me, if your lights are too light, then the catch lights won't show. So here, I had manganese, but I lost like a whole tube of paint. I'm not really sure where it could have possibly gone. I don't know, bro. Yeah, I don't know. Let's knock this back a little bit. Even if at this point I were to add some black, and I think that might be a good call to yeah, bring it down in chroma just a little bit. That's good. Happy with that one, but then I feel like this one is too high value, so I'm gonna knock this back with cobalt blue and yellow ochre. Somebody else also mentioned that they wanted a little advance notice. If I published on Thursday, then they would have time to go get the stuff to be able to do this along with me. So I think what I'll do is I'll put the palette that I'm using in the description. Make it easier for everybody. Okay. I said that this was too a little too low, so I'm going to pick it up a little bit. And you'll notice that I'm not using like a gigantical brush here. I appreciate that wisdom, the using the biggest brush you can. I know where it comes from. Ooh. But also, I don't wanna use a giant brush. I wanna go ahead and use what I think is correct right away. And if that means that I get too precious too fast, you know what? That might happen still from time to time. I think that that's more of a myopia problem or a blinders problem than a brush size problem, although maybe using a bigger brush does keep you from leaning that way. But maybe it's because I did a bunch of miniatures for a couple of years. And I just fell in love with being able to work in a small space. Anyway, I like little brushes, is what I'm saying. coming over and brushing over the edges, not a big whoop. Yeah, I don't mind it at all. Brushing over the edges keeps them nice and soft. Oh, we're going to have so much fun with this. I'm going to get to talk about reflections. So many things going on here. So in general, our dark shape kind of goes like this. You know, I probably could have used Prussian blue to get here, but I'm not feeling bad about not doing it. It is a very difficult color pigment to handle. It's like having a unbroken horse galloping across your stuff. And now, of course, I'm feeling very competitive with myself. I can handle it. I can do that. The heck? I'm not about to be intimidated by an aluminum salt, for Pete's sake. Heck no. I think that's what it is. I could be wrong. I'll have to look that up. Not I. Okay. I think that's most of our dark value. And I think that actually it doesn't go here, but I'm going to put it here to accentuate the difference between these two planes. Nummy nums. I'm not using any medium right now. I'm just relying on the properties of the closed surface to allow me to do what I'm doing. Now, because the darkest mixture is transparent. Yes, I just dropped my paintbrush. Sure did. Maybe I do need to go a little lighter with this. Let's see. Yeah, that's fine. And I'm just like, I'm being careful, right? I'm putting it in. Definitely not using the biggest brush available to me. I'm just kind of doing this my own way. Which actually brings up kind of an interesting point. If I didn't learn how to paint in art school, where did I learn how to paint? Friends, I learned on the internet. About almost 20 years ago now. I just started hanging around in art forums, hanging around with artists and making painting every day. I'd left the .com world after the bust in around 2002 in Chicago, and decided I was never going to do that again, which is definitely something I should. And I didn't do it, right, for like 17 years. And then when I did do it, terrible. But I met all of these people who knew how to paint and just asked questions and did stuff and got torn apart in critiques and took what I could use and discarded what I couldn't use. And read books. Practice, 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 practice. And eventually I just, I just got better. So right now I'm being very, I think, in general, quite methodical about going from dark to light. So we started with the darkest pile that I mixed, and now moving up to the medium pile. But, there are some changes. Like over here, we're seeing reflections. And so I'm thinking about putting them in, but right now it would actually be kind of pointless because of the way the panel is behaving. It's not going to be that sensitive. It's not going to let me put multiple layers of paint on here. So really, I should just go ahead and get it blacked in. Although I am glad I have that dark part. Oh, just love porcelain. Over here on the spout, the back edge, I'm going to lighten up my middle value a little bit to get this underplane in. Now, if this was stoneware, I would probably do this whole underpainting in yellow ochre or raw sienna or something like that, so that the glaze, when I applied it, would have some of the yellowy tones peeking through, just like real stoneware. Okay. Now moving to my lightest mixture. There we go. My lightest mixture and a little lighter. There we go. That's nice. That'll work. The paint is pretty thin in this first layer, as you can probably tell. doing there? Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure that I could see the values change. Since I'm working with really limited values right now, I wanted to make sure I at least had light, middle, dark for this. Ta-da! What's happening over here? Actually, the light. Oops. I was just saying that the light value kind of falls over this ridge. And then I think I got a little drawing correction to make here. I'll leave that loose so I can tinker with it next time. Very pretty. So if you're curious, what it'll look like later, just take a little out right now, just to kind of see, what will it look like with a highlight right there. It will suddenly coalesce into something that actually has volume and a sense of light. Right? When we're done with this, it will definitely show those things. But it's not ready yet. I want those light values to float on top of the local value, the local color. So let's leave that in there. Okay, and then something's happening here that I don't like. So I'm covering them back up. I'm like, hey, try this. No, don't do it. I was just making a point. There we go. And one last check. Is this back angle? Does that make sense? I think it does make sense, but I think also my dark values needed to be, up there. Great, great, great. And with only 3 values, we're missing all kinds of subtleties. Don't even worry about it yet. This is not the whole ball game by any stretch of the imagination. Moving on to the lid. I'm going to mix up brown, pink. Oh, can you even see that over there? Okay. Brown, pink, cobalt blue, yellow ochre. Let me use this straight as my darkest value. And again, not because it's right, but because it'll look amazing under the next layers. I'm going to add a little bit of black and substantially more white. Some yellow. Yellow ochre. Here we go. More white. Get that outer edge there. And keep it very, very soft because I want to be able to bring it into focus later. But it's not time yet. More white and more blue. As it goes into the light, it's going to cool down. Okay. And a little bit more white still. This will be my lightest value. And now I can really think about this drawing a little bit more, like the shape of this top. And no highlights, not nearly yet. Yeah. Well, I can tell by the way the paint is behaving that this is all I'm going to be able to get in today. And I think that's pretty good. About an hour, locking in, talking about the plans for the next layers coming up, just a little bit, talking about how this layer is really a map for the next layers. So certain things like keeping these edges soft and laying in a foundation for what I'm aiming at the end, how those things are important to me. Next time will be the second color pass, where we're really bringing in a sense of presence, some of the details that are going on, but really a sense of volume and light, and get things to the right relationships as far as color harmony, the full composition of light and shadow, the beginning, the reflections here, thinking about the textures of the different stuff. And then if we need a third session, which might, that'll be additional stuff probably in the background, maybe some scumbling or something to bring some presence to the teapot. Is this too hard? I don't know. Let's blend it a little bit. All right. Okay, friends. If you do tackle this, feel free to send it to me. Let me know in the comments, and let's see what happens. Thanks for joining in. Good night.